Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. We got some big news this morning. Had to jump on and talk about this with you guys. Um, it's official. Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping down at Lucasfilm. Uh, a lot of fans have been screaming this from the mountaintops for years. Um, Personally, I think she's kind of gotten a bad rap. She's a good producer. She's a very good producer. Produced some of the better movies of the last 30 plus years. But I mean, it's obvious she's not a Star Wars fan. Um, we'll see where things go from here. But let's back up a minute. Welcome to the show. I had to get that out. Just had to. Um, um, Welcome to the show. Please drop a like, you guys. The more likes we get, and comments and all that other good stuff, we can be more visible in the algorithm, whatever that means. But anyway, a lot of news on this show that we're about to do. Check out some of the other episodes. We got a lot of stuff. Good morning, Dan. It's good to see you on here, buddy. Um, hey, drop your comments in chat. Well, it's official, you guys. Let me go back to that. It is official. Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping down at Lucasfilm. Um, but who will they get in her place? I mean, if they don't do this right, it could be a worse disaster than Lucasfilm already is. It's been hit and miss. It's in disarray. We've had some really good things and we've had some really bad things. Like I was saying earlier, she gets a lot of the blame, but I mean, you look at it like a ball team, whether it be baseball, football, whatever. It all starts with the head coach, and I mean, she is the head coach of Lucasfilm. Everything the buck stops with her, so to speak. Um, we'll see how where it goes from here. Um, the story was put up on comic book news. Hold on just a second, you guys. Let me throw this up here. Uh, Give me just a second, and we'll dive into this. Let me get my glasses on. All right. So anyway, Kathleen Kennedy expected to step down as Lucasfilm president by the end of this year. It appears Kathleen Kennedy's time as Lucasfilm president is nearing its end as a new report details the executive plans to step down from her role by the end of 2025. Kathleen Kennedy has ruled over the Star Wars empire for more than a decade. More than a decade, but it looks like she might finally be moving on from a galaxy far, far away. As first reported by Puck via sffgazette.com, the Lucasfilm president has told associates that she intends to retire by the end of 2025. There's definitely something to say to this, as the story has been picked up by the Hollywood trade. This story also carries more weight than the wishful thinking often shared by YouTubers. Kennedy does plan on stepping down, and she's likely to be missed by the majority of Star Wars fans. She joined Lucasfilm as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas in 2012, and later took over following his exit when Disney acquired the company for $4 billion. Initially, Kennedy found great success in the role, with the Star Wars Force Awakens as a box office hit that grossed $2 billion worldwide. Some fans weren't happy with the movie, but it was a critical success, and 2 years later, The Last Jedi was another win for the studio. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, also grossed over $1 billion in 2016 and received positive reviews despite reports of issues behind the scenes. The trouble started when she fired filmmakers Chris Lord and Phil Miller in the middle of shooting Solo, a Star Wars story. Longtime friend Ron Howard was enlisted to finish the project, but it was a flop. In 2019, The Rise of Skywalker was panned by critics and fans alike as a disappointing end to the Skywalker saga. We then entered an era of movies being announced only for them to never materialize, from trilogies being spearheaded by Ryan Johnson and the Game of Thrones showrunners D.B. Benioff and David Weiss to Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. Kennedy has become known to fans for making promises and breaking them. Even 2 years on from the last Star Wars celebration, three movies announced in London from Ramin Obeid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni have failed to materialize. Daisy Ridley's return as Rey, for example, has gone through multiple writers and creative teams. The franchise has found success on streaming with the likes of The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Andor, but there have still been notable missteps, including The Book of Boba Fett and The Acolyte. We've seen other failings on Kennedy's watch, including Disney Plus's Willow revival, which was panned by critics and later pulled from the streamer altogether, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, another finale widely considered a letdown. Neither Lucasfilm nor Kennedy have responded to requests for comments, but we'd imagine she'll announce her plans to step down at Star Wars Celebration in Japan this April. It's hard to say who will take over from the veteran producer, but Disney likely wants someone who can right the ship and get this property back in theaters. Comic Book News says stay tuned for updates as they have them. So, now that we've got all that out of the way, who do you guys think would be a good replacement for him? Would you get a lot of people were on the Filoni side, I think, a while back, but I mean, Filoni, I'm not sure he's the guy. I think you need to leave him where he's at, kind of covering the creative. I think you need to bring in a fan, um, somebody that loves the brand and wants to return it to its former glory. Um, I'm sure Favreau's name is being kicked around. He's done some good things. He's had some misses too, though. We all know that he wrote Book of Boba Fett. Um, wasn't great. Was not great. It pretty much killed that character. You neutered Boba Fett. Oh, so we'll see. Who would you like to see take over Lucasfilm? Me personally, I'm not really sure. Uh, I don't know who I would put in that position. I don't know if there's somebody that's a big enough fan and knows how to run a studio that could really fit that role. I mean, they basically need a Kevin Feige, somebody that loves the brand, is a fan of the books, the just everything about it. and I'm not sure who that one person is. Hopefully, they'll get somebody good. They got a little bit of time. They got the rest of the year to start searching and put somebody in place. Um, Hopefully, we get somebody good. We'll see. But promised you some big news from DC too. Um, we covered the story just a few days ago about this private press conference that DCU had that Peter Safran and James Gunn had. Just a few select reporters were able to be there. Well, the news has broke, and they dropped all kind of stuff. So let's kind of get into that for just a few minutes. Um, and this was covered by the Hollywood Reporter. So anyway, let's see here. DC Studios slate evolution. Some projects put on back burner, and others are full steam ahead. 2 years after James Gunn and Peter Safran unveiled an ambitious slate. The duo offered updates on what they found along the way. Clayface and what is it? Speed bumps, Waller, and the Authority. Uh, the article starts out. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. It says in 1984, DC Comics hit a renaissance period, putting out titles that were really connecting with readers. There was even a well-known slogan from that area: "The new DC, there's no stopping us now." Just over 4 years later, a case could be made that the same mantra is coursing through DC Studios. The Warner Brothers Discovery Division focused on bringing the popular comic characters to screens big and small. Uh, we don't want these characters to die out, said DC Studios co head James Gunn at a press event Friday. We want to bring new stories and new life. We want to introduce these characters to new generations, and I think we're doing that slowly but surely. These mm, DC Studios, which Gunn runs with Peter Safran, is just over 2 years old, and its big test will be this summer's Superman, which Gunn wrote and directed uh, as the division's inaugural film. But Gunn and Saffron are not waiting to see how Superman flies before making next moves. The duo are moving with the speedy deliberation of the Flash to get as many projects going as possible, maybe before anyone can stop them. The space fantasy Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is halfway through production in London. Lantern is a HBO series featuring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart began shooting in Los Angeles last week. Clayface, a body horror thriller based on the Batman villain, finally found its director and will shoot this summer for a fall 2026 release. Sergeant Rock, period war movie to be directed by Luca Guadagnino, is actively looking for a star, and an animated movie titled Dynamic Duo is in pre production. This August, season two of action comedy series The Peacemaker will debut on Max. Smaller but key steps for the identity of the division, including acquiring the documentary Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, in the last several which in the last several weeks won awards from BAFTA and the PGA, and unveiling its first Max animated series, Creature Commandos. At the meeting with journalists Friday, the WBD's Burbank Lots own dynamic duo gave updates on the slate and explained the ethos and strategy driving their decision making. Gunn and Saffron took over in November of 22 after WBD head David Zaslav made it a priority to revitalize the storied IP factory after the merger of Warner Media and Discovery. Prior to that, DC had fractured into several items with actors, filmmakers, and producers competing for a piece of the pie. It was a dark time for the brand. The DC brand was being defined by different creative teams at the company. Each was pursuing their own distinct vision of the characters, the story. The result was not one DCU, but many, summed up Saffron. This fracture proved very challenging to consumers and it chipped away at the identity of the brand. From the duo's perspective, a lot of work has already been done. Even ahead of Superman's release, we've unified the brand. We greenlit 5 theatrical films, made 3 live action series, and are producing 5 animated series, he said. Um, my adventures with Green Lantern and Starfire are 2 of the animated titles. The goal for the company is to make 2 live action films and 1 animated movie per year, while also producing 2 live action and 2 animated series for Max per year. The company aims to work in multiple genres and sizes of projects. We don't serve one kind of audience, so why make one kind of movie, Saffron said, adding, working in a multitude of genres, it affords us the opportunity to allocate resources where they can make the biggest impact. We budget accordingly. We budget according to the demands of the story and the revenue expectations of each title. And while there will be connectivity between movies and shows to give that universe feel, the duo don't want each entry to feel like a chapter to a larger story. We remain steadfast that each of these projects work as a standalone project, said Gunn. So you can see Superman, you can watch Lanterns without having to see both of them. Although, if you can, there will be special things in there for people who have seen both. One thing that is the undercurrent driving the division is the writing of the script. We are writer driven, declared Gunn. We are not going to greenlight or put anything into production until we are happy with the script. It is hard enough making a good movie with a good script. It's almost impossible to make a movie with a script that you're writing on the run. Scripts that weren't up to the duo's snuff have been displaced by other projects on the slate, and the scripts that hadn't even been dreamt of have risen to the top of the production pile, while Rock and Clayface being prime examples. We had no plan making a Clayface movie, noted Gunn, even after Scribe Mike Flanagan pitched what they felt was a great idea. There was still a wait and see attitude. He turned in a script, and it's one of the best scripts that we've read, said Saffron. We've laid out internally a plan, but we're happy to pivot as we discover things in the making of Superman or Supergirl or scripts being written. There's a flexibility built into it, even though we know where the larger story is headed. And while Gunn and Saffron didn't elaborate, they did say they had a 6 year plan that would include an Avengers Endgame style culmination, a reference to Marvel Studios' 2019 climactic movie, which Gunn worked on as an executive producer thanks to his role as director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. The execs acknowledged that some projects on the initial DC slate they unveiled in January 23 have met challenges that bedevil Brainiac himself. We've taken a couple of cracks at it, but still haven't been able to land, Saffron says about Waller, a Peacemaker Suicide Squad spinoff that was to star Viola Davis. Waller has been a bumpy road. A series on time, traveling hero, Booster Gold, was waiting for a showrunner to make time for it, but maybe he fell out of love, maybe he got busy, he says, but we had to do it. The Authority, a superhero group created in the late 1990s, had a script that has had a hard time coming along, notes Reeves. Excuse me, notes Gunn. It hasn't been much a priority. Additionally, James Mangold's take on horror hero Swamp Thing also seems to have cooled. We talk about it occasionally, Gunn said, and then there's the Batman problem, or several. Despite strong efforts, any new movie featuring the Dark Knight seems years away. It's been 3 years since Matt Reeves, the Batman, introduced Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne in March of 2022, making over 772 million during the pandemic, no less. But a sequel seems no closer than before. It is yet to turn in a full script, but what we have read so far is incredibly encouraging, Saffron said. DC Studios is also concurrently developing The Brave and the Bold, centered on Batman and his son, Damian Wayne, but although it was announced in 2023 that Andy Muschietti would direct the feature and be a producer on it, the filmmaker behind the Flash and It movies seems to be at arm's length from the project. We're developing the Brave and the Bold script right now, and he'll be the first one to see it, Saffron said, referring to Muschietti, while also strongly implying the filmmaker is not involved in the project's development. Gunn went so far as to say he was now the driving force of the title. Everybody knows I love Batman and it's important to me, so I'm working very close with the writer on Brave and the Bold, he said. The writer's name was not revealed. Gunn poured cold water that Pattinson would star as Batman in The Brave and the Bold and bristled at the word sharing the actor with Reed. He said there were no serious conversations about the actor continuing his role into the broader DCU rather than staying in the separate universe of Reeves' world. The small screen also seems to have trouble in the Batcave, while the Penguin, a spinoff of Reeves' Batman that continues to steal award after award. On Sunday, star Colin Farrell won the SAG Award for Best Actor in a Limited Series. There seems to be no plan for a follow up. When asked by a second season, Saffron plainly says, "We don't know. There are a lot of moving pieces, probably mostly importantly, Colin himself and 800 pounds of makeup. Right now, however, the focus is back on Superman. Gunn is returning to Atlanta this week to continue the post production process on the movie, and while there aren't any major plans for DC Studios to be at San Diego Comic Con, the division plans on making a splash at CinemaCon, the annual gathering of theater owners at the top of April. And while some may wonder if the character, an embodiment of so called American values or human values, can sidestep cultural debates, Gunn believes he's the right Superman because he's not part of the cultural moment. I think he's the right Superman because he is a character that stands for something that is solid, stands for basic human morals, basic human integrity, basic belief in protecting others and protecting the weak, being good to people and being honest, he said. People are looking for heroes right now. They are looking for values of goodness, looking for people who are good and decent human beings, and Superman is that. Well, that's a mouthful. Personally, that gives me hope for the Superman film. I didn't hate Man of Steel. I went on record for that many times, but I wanted something more closer to Christopher Reeve's Superman. And I believe we're going to get a good marriage of the two with James Gunn's Superman. I think it's going to cover the darker tones like Snyder's did. Plus, it's going to have the overall Boy Scout that Christopher Reeve was. But time will tell. Well, guys, leave your thoughts and comments in chat. You got any questions, drop those. Like I said, be sure and drop a like. Help us grow this thing out. The more likes you put in there and comments, the more it helps with the algorithm. Anyway, for right now, that's all the news that's fit to print. Big news. Uh, anyway, that's the show, you guys. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, you want to support the channel? Be sure and drop a like. Put those comments down in there. I'd love to talk with you guys. Like to make this a community. Other ways to support the channel, hey, go to my website at jerrycooleyart.com. That's www.jerrycooleyart.com. You can pick up my comics, t-shirts, prints, all kinds of stuff. Be sure and go on there and check that stuff out if you're interested in any of my work. You can also follow me on Instagram at JerryCooley77 and also at Blue Sky to see what I'm up to as far as comics. Hey, love to see you there. Jump on, give me a follow on all those socials. Thanks for watching the show. Till next time, you guys. Have a blessed one.